Okay, let's get started with our next screencast. We continue our discussion of secondary materials. Today we're going to talk about treatises. Before you continue, please remember, if you haven't already done so, to log into TED-Ed before watching the rest of the screencast so that you make sure to get credit for watching. Okay, treatises. What are they and why are they useful? Basically, treatises are books, really titles, because they can be online or in print, on a particular topic or area of law that, like other secondary sources, can help you understand, synthesize, and analyze the law. The main distinction of treatises as opposed to other secondary sources is treatises will be the most in-depth explanation and analyses. So you'll go to treatises when you have a particular complex area of law or complex question and you need to get into a lot of detail. Treatises can be very scholarly and give you some historical context and talk about developments in the law. Treatises can also take a very practical approach. As a practicing attorney, it might give you great checklists or forms or guidance on how to represent a client. In addition, treatises, unlike most other secondary sources, with the possible exception of law reviews, treatises may also be cited to as persuasive authority. So for example, if you're practicing in the copyright area, you may cite to Nimmer on copyright as a persuasive treatise. Okay, so treatises, like other secondary sources, are going to help explain the law. How do you find them? We will be talking about these various methods in class. So we will be looking at Bloomberg, Lexis, and Westlaw and how to find treatises. We've already talked about finding references from other sources. We will be looking at other databases in addition to Bloomberg, Lexis, and Westlaw that are more topically oriented. Examples are RIA and CCH, and we'll even look at Google Books. Perhaps you already knew that Google has a whole subsection of books that they have made available online, sometimes made available online, and we will be investigating those methods for finding treatises. For this screencast, however, we're going to look at using catalogs to find treatises. A catalog is essentially an index to books, or really titles, including journal titles. So a catalog will tell you that a library has the Hofstra Law Review, but it won't tell you what the different articles within each Hofstra Law Review issue are. Catalogs essentially are used by libraries to tell you what that particular library has. So of course here at Hofstra we have the Hofstra Law Library. Catalogs tell you, again, particular information about the title. So of course they'll give you the title, the author, they'll give you subject descriptors. Catalogs typically will not allow you to search full text. So this means when you are searching catalogs, you need to think about your search terms in a more general way. So you may not find a title on consideration if you have a question regarding consideration of a contract, but you absolutely certainly will find a title in the Hofstra Law Library catalog on many different excellent treatises on contracts. And within the treatise on contracts, you can then look for consideration discussions. Okay, so I've already mentioned one useful catalog, the Hofstra's catalog, that will tell you not only what's here in the law library, but also what the Axon library has. The Hofstra catalog also will let you know what ebooks the Hofstra libraries subscribe to. You can get access to those ebooks both here on campus as well as home, as long as you are a student. Once you become a distinguished alumnus of Hofstra, unfortunately you will no longer have access to those ebooks. You are most certainly always welcome to come visit the library as an alum for life, but unfortunately the agreement with the ebook vendors do not permit us to give graduates and non-Hofstra people access to the ebooks. Another catalog is worldcat.org. WorldCat is basically a compilation of many different libraries' catalogs. So WorldCat won't tell you where to find a particular title, but it will give you a good hint that, hey, this title exists and maybe you want to find it somewhere. So let's talk about how to use a catalog. So we're going to click on the link to Hofstra's catalog. And here it is. So this is actually a link to the Hofstra Library, Law Library homepage, in which we provide you some boxes in which to search the catalog. You can start with a keyword search, which is certainly a fine way to start, but I'm going to show you a trick that I like to use. I call it the let's get lucky, we hope trick. And by that I mean, instead of keyword, we're going to search by title. Now we don't know a title yet. We know that we're interested in healthcare law, so I'm going to guess, okay, probably, hopefully, maybe, there is a title out there that begins with the words healthcare law, and maybe I'll get lucky and find one. And sure enough, there's certainly a decent list here, and scanning down I see several different promising titles, one of which is Healthcare, a Practical Guide. Anytime I see a practical guide, I'm going to take a look at that, because pretty much if I'm representing a client, that sounds like that's going to be useful. So clicking on the link, actually there are two titles here, and looking at both titles I can kind of guess that they are the same title because they're pretty much the exact same wording, and the publisher is pretty close. Matthew Bender, M. Bender, you can kind of guess that they are the same. The dates are different, so I might want to dive in and see what the difference is. And the one thing I notice here, law classified, that's telling me we're in the library with the call number, it's telling me it's no longer updated. So that's a key factor into whether I want to take a look at this. The second entry is telling me it's available on the internet. So that might be a good thing. We will investigate that shortly. Let's first take a look at the print title. Because what I might want to see is, okay, we know it's no longer updated. If I look carefully at the record, I can see it was canceled in October 2013. So that wasn't that long ago, as we are in the beginning of 2015. But it does tell me that if I want to look at this, I need to update my research. So let's go back and let's take a look at this second entry, which is a later date, so that's good, and it's online. And what this is telling me is that I need to go to Lexis. The catalog will let you know various treatise titles available on Lexis and Westlaw, so it can be useful for you in that sense even after you've graduated and may no longer be that close to the library so that you can come visit us. But again, once you've graduated, you would need to have separate access to Lexis, because unfortunately Lexis will not allow us to give access to alumni. So let's go ahead and click on the link. And what Lexis brings up is the title of the treatise, as we see here, table of contents, and we brings up the table of contents and the title here, healthcare law. I had already logged into Lexis before clicking on that. If you haven't logged into Lexis, all that will happen is you'll see an interim screen that requires you to put in your Lexis ID information, and then after that it will bring you straight to this screen. So this is pretty good. I can see the various chapters, and if I want to dive into those chapters and read about healthcare law, I can do that. I can search this treatise up here. Again, be very, very aware of what your contract contains and what it doesn't. Searching treatises on Lexis and Westlaw can be extraordinarily expensive, as we talked about in the last screencast. Okay, so that is using the catalog initially to find treatises. Let's go back to our catalog tab. And now we're going to do a different kind of search. I'm going to click on search up here, and I'm going to go to the guided search, which is really an advanced search. That's actually what that tab should read. And what the advanced search does is it gives us multiple boxes so I can divide up my search terms. Perhaps I want to put healthcare here and law here. I might want to change my operators. I might want to specify a field. Actually, sometimes specifying the field can be useful. But typically, my first couple of searches in a catalog, I'll start out leaving it to search anything. So let's try a different kind of search. Maybe we don't get lucky with the title search. And let's also try different terminology, because it may be that healthcare law isn't the best terminology to pull up treatises on what we're interested in, or maybe it's too general and it pulls up treatises that don't discuss our issue. So when I'm doing a catalog search, I'm going to try a whole different combination of search terms. So let's try managed care law and do a search. And what we see, a bunch of searches. The first couple of titles may be a little too specialized for us, but the third title, kind of funky in the beginning, Strangers in the Night, Law and Medicine in the Managed Care Era. So that might be really useful. Now what I see here is, oops, this is due in July of 2015, which is telling me that this particular print book is not available. It may be available to us electronically. But let's take a look at the print record because it can tell us some useful information. And the useful information a book can tell us, even if it's not available in the library, are these subjects. Basically, any catalog, any index really, will assign predetermined subject headings to every title within that index or catalog. And by predetermined subject headings, I mean someone who's created this system has sat down and decided that everything that talks about the law in the managed care area is going to have a subject heading called Managed Care Plans, Medical Care, Law and Legislation, United States. Why do we care? Let's click on it and see. We care because the catalog will now tell us every title in the catalog that has been assigned this particular subject heading, and we see that there are 34 of them. So that means I have now found 33 more titles that use this subject heading. And if this subject heading is on point, I've now found 33 more titles that might be useful for me. One additional way to help me do that, see if they are useful, is to sort it. I like to do reverse year. So I see the more recent first because I tend to be more interested in more recent material. And sure enough, here's Healthcare Benefits Law. Again, a law internet source, so we click on that to see where online that might be available to us. Okay, I'm now going to go back to the Law Library homepage because we've looked at the Hofstra Law Library catalog, but as I said, you may not be in a place where you can get back to the law library as an alum. So let's look at that other catalog we mentioned, WorldCat, to see how that's going to be useful for you. Now, we have another box here on the Law Library homepage called Find Resource Guides and Online Resources. I could type in WorldCat there, but honestly, I'm lazy and I find it much easier to click on Topic List and click on WorldCat, which obviously I knew was there. And again, you see that multiple box entry. Again, that's going to be something you see a lot of. And we can put in whatever search terms we like. We might try our title search if we want to see if we're lucky, or we might just throw in keywords, which is what I'm going to do. And managed care plans liability. Notice I'm getting a little more specific. I'm not using the word law. I'm talking about liability because I'm searching a much larger database than the Hofstra catalog. Again, WorldCat is a catalog of books and other materials in libraries worldwide. So that's a lot of libraries. So there I have my keyword search. And sure enough, Encyclopedia of Healthcare Management. That might be more management oriented than law. Here's that Strangers in the Night, second entry, the one that we saw in the Hofstra Law catalog. Notice that this one actually tells us it's at Hofstra, so maybe if we're here, we might want to go and take a quick look. Okay, so that is using catalogs to find treatises. We'll talk about the other methods in class. Please remember, as you should already be logged into TED Ed, to answer the questions in the Think section on the right-hand side. You'll see the Think link of the TED Ed lesson. And that's it.